All right, hello everybody. Today we're going to get into the first batch of content for my course. So we're probably watching this video together, but just so you know, if you ever can't make the Zoom meeting or if you need to go back and watch something that we talk about during the Zoom meeting, these videos are posted to YouTube and you can find the links to them in the Canvas course so that you can access them whenever you want. While you're watching the video on your own time, if you ever need to take a break or anything, you can just pause it and come back to it. And so it's a really great way for you to pace yourself with the learning if you need to. So today we're going to be talking about what chemistry is and this topic right here. Let me show you the slides here. Classification of matter. Okay, but before we get into the nitty-gritty details of this, let's just talk about what is chemistry. Okay, so several of you all have probably already taken the freshman science course here at Douglas, the Intro to Physics class, and then a lot of you have already taken biology as well. Some of you may not have taken all of those courses, but a lot of you have. So biology is the study of life, right? Living things like plants and animals and insects and things like that. Chemistry is a bit different, okay? Chemistry is a little bit broader than that. Chemistry is the study of matter, okay? So what is matter? Well, to put it simply, matter is stuff, like things that you can hold on to and interact with. But it's also more than just things that you can hold. It's really just all of the physical things that exist in our universe, okay? And let me talk to you just for a second about what our objective is going to be for today, okay? Our objective is going to be able to define matter, okay? What is matter, figure out what that is, and classify it according to its composition, okay? And I'll talk more about this part later. So the first part, being able to define matter, that is relatively easy. Matter is defined as any substance, anything that has both mass and volume. Okay, so mass means that it would weigh something if you put it on a scale, and volume means that it would take up space. Okay, so like three-dimensional space. Okay, so like you are matter. Okay, because you weigh something and you take up space. And a lot of other things that you can think of also count as matter. I have a bit of a list here, and I'm going to quickly go through this list and tell you which of these things are and are not matter. Okay? Air. Does it have mass? Does it have volume? Well, it definitely has volume, right? It takes up space. Does it have mass? Does it weigh anything? A lot of kids tend to think that air doesn't weigh anything, but actually it does. If you've ever heard of air pressure, that's just another term for like how much the air weighs at a specific point on the earth. If you're on top of a mountain, there's less air pressure than if you were like on a beach. So air does in fact weigh something, weighs quite a lot actually, which kind of seems weird, but it does have mass, it does have volume, so air counts as matter. Sound does not have mass. Sound is a wave that goes through matter and your ears can like pick it up and translate it into noises, but sound does not matter. Neither is energy, and neither is light or heat. Okay, so actually most of this first column here is not matter. These things don't have mass. The exceptions are air, like I mentioned before, and then water. That's an easy one, right? Water, you could pick it up, it clearly weighs something, and it clearly takes up space. Okay, on to the second column, space, and then I put here a vacuum. This just means like outer space. Okay, maybe I should actually change that to say outer space. In outer space, obviously it takes up space, because space is in the word, but it also doesn't weigh anything though. So that's the weird thing, right? Like that's the thing about space. It takes up space, but there's nothing in that space. That's what's weird about outer space, right? There's no air, there's no water. So outer space fits one of the categories, right? It has volume, but there's no stuff there, so it doesn't weigh anything. So technically outer space, the vacuum of space, it does not count as matter because there's no mass. Smoke, like coming off of a campfire or like a barbecue fire or something like that, smoke is actually made up of little tiny solid particles of like ash. And so smoke does technically have mass and it takes up space, so this counts. Gravity does not. Gravity is a force that like keeps you glued to the earth, but it doesn't have mass or volume. Bacteria, little tiny things that live on your skin and in your stomach and all over the earth, they have mass and they take up volume, so those count. Dust is kind of like smoke. It's little tiny solid particles, so those have mass and volume. And then electricity, this is kind of like light and heat and energy. It doesn't have mass and it doesn't take up volume. Okay, it's something different. All those things that I mentioned that aren't volume, you would study in a physics class. Okay, physics is all about like energy and forces and the things that I mentioned on here that aren't matter would be studied in physics. Okay, so what we're going to do today, now that we kind of know what matter is, we're going to learn how to classify it into different categories. Okay, and actually, let me show you this graph first. So matter can be broken up into two big categories. Okay, it can either be a pure substance or it can be a mixture. Okay, so that's like the first distinction that you have to make. If it is a pure substance, it is one of these two things. It's either an element, which you can find on the periodic table. When you picked up your materials from school, you should have gotten a periodic table from me. You can also just Google periodic table and you can find a version of this online. I'll also have a link to it in the Canvas course as well. So a pure substance is either one of those elements on the periodic table, like gold or silver or carbon. And then it could also be a compound. Okay, so pure substances could also be a compound. Some examples of this are like water, salt, which is technically sodium chloride, and many, many other things. Okay, so those are pure substances. Okay, so that's like one half of our matter chart here. The other half is mixtures. Okay, mixtures are made up of two or more pure substances mixed together. Okay, so like in this picture here, you can see how there's two different things, right? There's the green particles here, and then there's the orange particles here. Same thing over here in this picture. We've got these shapes here, which look different than these down here. Whereas over here in these pictures, all the particles inside look the same, right? So mixtures can be one of two categories: homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. These prefixes here, homo and hetero, mean something. Homo means same and hetero means different. So the difference between a homogeneous mixture and a heterogeneous mixture is that in a homogeneous mixture, when you look at it with your naked eye, okay, like a human eyeball, the stuff in the mixture all looks the same. Like it all looks nice and well mixed together, okay? But with a heterogeneous mixture, hetero means different, you can see the different pieces. Okay, and let me actually go to this slide here. This has like sort of all the notes that I would want you to know. You can refer to this slide later while you're working on my assignment for you. Heterogeneous mixtures, you can see the different parts in it. Homogeneous, you can't. Everything sort of looks the same. And really, it kind of helps to think of these examples, okay? So an example of a homogeneous mixture, okay, so that would be this example here, would be salt water. Okay, so you take a glass of water, you pour some salt into it, you mix it up, and you can't see the salt anymore. The salt dissolves into the water. That's a mixture, right? Because there's water and there's salt, but you can't see the different parts anymore, right? It's nice and well mixed together. So that's what a homogeneous mixture is. A heterogeneous mixture is different. You can see the different parts in it when you inspect it, when you look at it. So for example, dirt, if you take a fistful of dirt out of your front yard, you're going to see probably some pieces of grass, some actual like earth, like dirt, maybe a rock, maybe a worm. There's going to be lots of different things in there, right? You can see those different parts. Cereal, I guess I'm talking about like Lucky Charms. You've got the brown part, which is not that good, and then you've got the marshmallows, which are really good, right? So those are the different parts. And then I put milk on here. Milk is kind of a special situation. So milk kind of looks homogeneous, right? When you look at milk, it just looks like a white liquid. But technically, inside of milk, there are little bacteria cells and other living things that are inside of your milk. That's why it goes bad eventually, right? It doesn't stay good in your fridge forever. So technically, milk does have some bigger things in there. You just can't quite see it with your eyeball. You need like a microscope. So technically, in order for something to be homogeneous, everything has to be nice and well mixed, even when you zoom in. With heterogeneous, if you zoom in and you can see those different things, then it is heterogeneous. Or if you can see it with your eyeball, then it's heterogeneous. Okay? All right, so that's it for the slides. What I want to show you next is your assignment for me for today. Okay? So if you go into the Canvas course, what you're going to find are these two quizzes here. Okay? One of them is called Classification of Matter Quiz 1, and one of them is called Classification of Matter Quiz 2. You're going to have multiple attempts on these. So it'll show you which ones you get wrong at the end, and you can go back and try to fix them. Let's just take a look at the first one here real quick. If my Canvas will load. On this first quiz, you're going to have some different substances listed. Okay? So for example, coffee or road salt. Okay? And what you're being asked to do is to classify this substance as one of these four categories. Okay? And if I go back to the objective for today, that is the objective, right? I can define matter. That was the first part, just sort of knowing this definition of mass and volume. And you can classify it according to its composition. So based on what it's made of, based on what you know about it, can you classify it into one of these four categories: element, compound, homogeneous mixture, or heterogeneous mixture? Okay, so I'll go through two of these for you on each of the quizzes, and that's going to be it. Okay, so coffee. I've got my coffee cup right here. Coffee is made of water, right? And then there's other stuff that goes into coffee, right? Think about it. There's like caffeine. There's all the chemicals that come from the coffee beans that like make it smell a certain way and taste a certain way. So coffee is definitely on the mixture side, right? So it's not an element. It's not a compound. It's definitely over here on the mixture side. So the question is it homogeneous or heterogeneous? When you look at coffee, can you see the different parts in the coffee? Like, can you tell the difference between the water and the caffeine? Like, you can't, right? Like, it's sort of all dissolved together, right? So coffee would be homogeneous, okay? All right, so let's look at the next one. All right, road salt. This is what they put on the streets before it snows to help it prevent from freezing, okay? And so a lot of times, that salt can actually build up and you can see it on the side of the road after winter has been going on for a few weeks or months. Road salt is actually this chemical right here, magnesium chloride. And that has the formula MgCl2. Okay, now I'm showing you this for a specific reason, okay? Anytime you see something like this, MgCl2, those are element symbols that show up on your periodic table, okay? Anytime you see one of these chemical formulas, that is a compound, okay? So right here in this slide, compounds have chemical formulas, okay? So if you see a chemical formula, it's a compound, okay? So that's what I want you to look for. Whenever you see those formulas there, you just can say, oh, that's a compound. Okay? So as you scroll through here, you may see other formulas. Okay, and I'm going to want you to recognize that whenever you see those formulas, those are compounds. Okay? And then let's look at one more example on this one. Raisin Bran. Okay? Raisin Bran cereal. Hopefully you've had a version of Raisin Bran at some point in your life. Raisin Bran has the bran, which are like the brown flakes of cereal that are kind of bland tasting, and then it has the raisins. Okay, so that's definitely a mixture, and you can see the different parts, so I'm sure a lot of you all are thinking that that might be heterogeneous, and that is correct. Okay, so this is the first quiz. There's 16 questions. Like I said, there's you can have 3 attempts on it, and after you finish each attempt, it'll tell you which ones you get wrong. So make note of the ones you get wrong, take it again, and score as well as you can. Your overall grade in the gradebook will be based on this rubric right here, which you can take a look at. All right? Okay, and then quickly, I'm going to show you the second quiz. This one also has 16 questions, and instead of a word or a name of a substance, I show you a picture. Okay, and in some ways, I think this is actually easier than the first quiz. What I need you to do is basically the same thing. Look at the picture, and based on what you see, pick one of these 4 classifications as your answer. And you might want to have this slide up while you're doing this quiz, right? So you can kind of go back and forth between the quiz and this slide. This slide can really help you because you can compare these pictures that you see here with what you're looking at on the quiz. Okay, so this one right here, it definitely looks like a mixture, right? Because I got like 3 different things going on here. I've got these blue ones, the red ones, and then this purple and green thing here. So it's definitely either homogeneous or heterogeneous, right? It's definitely one of these 2. And then you want to sort of compare, does it look more like this or does it look more like this? And in my opinion, I think it looks more like this, the homogeneous mixture. Things are nice and bunched up together, or things are nice and mixed up together. So I'm going to pick homogeneous. Okay, down here, now this is kind of an easy one because this picture is exactly the same as this picture, all right? So this one is definitely heterogeneous. What you're looking for in a heterogeneous picture is a boundary. Okay, you see how I can take my mouse and I can sort of draw a line there to separate the 2 different groups of substances? If you can do that, okay, or if you can kind of do that in one of these pictures, then it's probably heterogeneous. Okay, and there are a couple of these that are a little bit difficult. Just keep in mind you can do the quiz multiple times, and so you can fix any that you get wrong. And you can also email me or ask me questions during the Zoom meeting today if you have any questions about those. Okay, and then let's do one more. All right, so this one, there are multiple things here, but let's be careful. Each of these 6 different pieces looks the same, right? If I look at each of these, there's this purple ball in the middle, and then each purple ball has 3 green ones that are connected to it, right? All 6 of these particles look the same, right? That looks very similar to this, right? So I've got all of these 6 particles that have a gray one in the middle with 2 red ones. This is what a compound looks like, okay? Technically, it is a pure substance because each individual piece is the same. Even though there's multiple pieces in each part, or there's multiple elements in each part, all of them look the same. Okay, so this one is a compound. And just to show you really quickly, this right here would be an example of an element. Okay, so that is it for today. I've gone through the notes, I've gone through the assignment, the quizzes. Both those quizzes are what I need you to have done before next class. It shouldn't take you more than 15-20 minutes. And once again, you can stick around here in the Zoom call for some help, or you can head out and just send me an email if you have any questions. Okay? All right, thanks for watching, and I'll talk with you guys here in just a sec.